Yeah, hi folks. Now, I think there are two reasons why Ardern has set an unattainable 90% vaccine target and vaccine passports. One, they force people to get the vaccine, and two, they punish people who oppose her. Now, today I'm going to briefly cover some obvious research that I think Ardern needs to consider, but isn't. And by doing this, I am in no way encouraging people not to get the vaccine. And I've posted links to this research below. Anyway, I'll start this off today with Comrade Dan, who is doing the same as Ardern.
But first to matters closer to home and the controversy surrounding whether the world's best tennis player will be allowed to play in January's Oz Open. Now, in a sane world, whether Novak Djokovic is vaccinated or not would be nobody's business but his own. But the Australian Open is held in Victoria, one of the least sane places in the free world right now. Dear leader Dan Andrews has already told us vaccine passports will be a part of daily life until 2023, perhaps beyond. And that means the world's number one tennis player can forget about playing at the Oz Open unless he's double jabbed and willing to make public his vaccination status. And though all the focus this week has been on the Serbian superstar, he may not be the only top-line player missing the tournament. In fact, around 2 in 5 elite tennis players are not vaccinated, according to the BBC, while the ABC reports that up to half may be unvaccinated. Now, we know that Djokovic does not want to disclose whether he's had the COVID vaccine, but we also know that the 9-time Australian Open champ was infected with the virus last year. And we know that for at least a certain period, those who have been previously infected have natural immunity. But that doesn't seem to matter to vaccine passport enthusiasts.
To vaccine passport enthusiasts
Who relish the opportunity to exclude the unvaccinated from society.
Now, who does that sound like?
So you basically said this is going to be like, well, it's almost like, you probably don't see it like this, the two different classes of
There are two different classes of people. If you are vaccinated,
or if you're unvaccinated,
or if you are unvaccinated,
you have all these rights.
You have all these rights.
If you are vaccinated,
that is what it is. So, yep.
That is what it is. So, yep. So clearly Ardern likes a divided nation. And she's doing exactly the same with Hipurpur. And this is coming from a woman who preaches equality.
World-renowned infectious disease expert and Harvard Medical School professor Dr. Martin Kulldorff has said that if vaccine passports are to be used, then those who have natural immunity should be granted equal access. Those who have had COVID and do not want the vaccine are not anti-vaccine. They simply understand science and natural acquired immunity, he wrote, citing a large-scale study from Israel. That study found that natural immunity confers longer-lasting and stronger protection against infection, symptomatic disease, and hospitalisation caused by the Delta variant compared to the 2-dose vaccine-induced immunity.
So let's have a closer look at that research.
Hello, welcome to my channel, Medicine with Dr. Moran. If you've not been here before, I'm Dr. Keith Moran. Is a natural COVID infection really 13 times better than being vaccinated? My viewers have been asking me to review a new study that everybody's talking about. This study, performed during the recent Delta outbreak in Israel, demonstrates natural immunity to COVID. Here is the study. The study investigators did a retrospective observational study comparing 3 different groups. Now, it's important to note that the authors of the study had no financial disclosures and there was no commercial funding. The study is in preprint and it's not peer-reviewed. The first group had never been infected with SARS-CoV-2, and they received 2 doses of the Pfizer vaccine. The second group were previously infected individuals who had not been vaccinated, and the third group were previously infected people who received a single dose of the Pfizer vaccine. The study looked at 2.5 million people in the Member Health Fund in Israel, and this covers 26% of their population and provides quite a representative sample. The study population included people older than age 16 who were vaccinated before February 28, 2021, or who had had a documented SARS-CoV-2 infection by this date, or who had both the documented infection and then received 1 dose of the vaccine 3 months later. Of interest, on March 2, 2021, the Israel Ministry of Health changed its guidelines to allow previously infected SARS-CoV-2 people to receive 1 dose of the vaccine after a minimum 3-month interval from the date of infection. They followed all of these 3 groups from June the 1st to August 14, 2021, when Delta was the predominant strain in Israel. Here are their study results. First, they compared vaccinated individuals versus previously infected people, and they matched for the time of the second vaccination and the time of the documented infection. They wanted both to occur between January 1 and the end of February. So what they were trying to do here was to match the time their immune system was activated in both groups, and then after that examine what the protection was from either vaccination or natural infection. They matched 16,215 people in each group. There were 257 infections, of which 238 occurred in the vaccination group, meaning a breakthrough infection, and just 19 in the previously infected group.
So 238 vaccinated people caught the virus, whereas only 19 caught it. 19 of the unvaxxed people caught it. So going by this research, if an unvaccinated person catches the virus, he or she is automatically vaccinated with a stronger protection. So why doesn't Ardern recognise that? Even Boris gets it.
Because the double vaccination provides a lot of protection against serious illness and death, but it doesn't protect you against catching the disease, and it doesn't protect you against passing it on. So,
yeah, that's because the vaccine wears off.
New this morning, 2 real-world studies show the protection you get from Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine starts to fall off after just 2 months. The 2 studies are both a little different, so let's break them down for you. In a study out of Israel, researchers found that antibody levels drop rapidly after the 2-dose vaccine, especially in men, people over the age of 65, and people with weaker immune systems. It also says immunity for people who got vaccinated after getting infected with the virus lasted longer. Okay, now to a study out of Qatar. It showed immunity from the vaccine peaked in the first month after the second dose, then gradually started to fall. But protection against hospitalization and death stayed above 90%. Now, Pfizer has been arguing for a while now that the effectiveness of its vaccine starts to wear off after a few months. The FDA approved booster shots for people 6 months after their second dose of Pfizer vaccine, and the agency recommends it to people over 65, people who are more at risk of severe illness, and people whose jobs put them at high risk of infection.
Professor at Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, Marty Macri, another scientist who argues that the latest data shows natural immunity is as good or better than vaccine-induced immunity. Professor Macri wrote in the Washington Post last month, many elected leaders and public health officials have held on far too long to the hypothesis that natural immunity offers unreliable protection against COVID-19, a contention that is being rapidly debunked by science. Now, Prime Minister Scott Morrison has encouraged Victoria to at least be flexible and suggested a pathway for the likes of Djokovic to enter the country by completing a period of quarantine.
There needs to be a little bit of flexibility. We want major events in this country. A lot of jobs depend on it.
But dear leader Dan has rejected that idea and is doubling down on the long-term use of vaccine passports.
And why can't Ardern even answer questions about the Israeli study?
And what I'd say is that we're all actually completely on the same page when it comes to driving vaccinations and making sure that we're doing everything that we can to reach people that we need to. This is an issue of... This is an issue...
The vaccine is not working in Israel.
Sir, I'm going to ask... I'm going to answer the question...
I'm going to answer the questions
of the accredited media.
Of the accredited media. So I'm going to answer the questions of the accredited media. Oh, well. In other words, the media she's paid off.
Also in the UK,
Sir, I will shut down the press conference if you do not cease. Sorry to our accredited members of...
Sorry to our accredited members of
the gallery here.
Of the gallery here.
We might move to an inside venue. Unfortunately, we've got...
We might move to an inside venue. Now hold that thought, folks, for the next clip I'm going to show you.
Someone who's disrupting your press conference today. So we might reconvene. Thank you. Can we use the facility here? Sure we can. Do you know whether or not it's open? Sorry, everyone. We might just try and flop it, go inside and then hold it there just so that we can have it in a bit more quiet space for you. And if you want to listen to your order and you feel like you need to re-record, we can do that inside as well.
counterspinmedia.com. You'll get
counterspinmedia.com. Nice little plug there. Anyway, now to our paid off media and what they edit out.
What I'd say is that we're all actually completely on the same page when it comes to driving vaccinations and making sure that we're doing everything that we can to reach people that we need to.
Why is the vaccine not working in Israel, but you are still pushing it? Here in the UK, it's got a 63%. It's got a 63%. It's rude to lie to the public in New Zealand.
Now listen closely here to what Ardern says.
Of the gallery here.
Members of the gallery here, the subtitles are different.
We might move to an inside venue.
We might move to an inside venue. They delete everything about Ardern shutting down the conference and all the accredited words and the subtitles as well. Now, folks, can any of you honestly say New Zealand is a democracy anymore when it's clearly obvious that Ardern has bought off the media? The media is disgusting in this country. It's no better than communist China.